of the police officer a cognizable offence. Underline that cognizable offence. And you can write C there. Because I'll tell you an easy way to remember. Underline cognizable offence and beside that you write C. And under clause B. This is all under section 1 of section 41. We have to clearly remember the section as well as subsection also. Even subsection you have to remember because 41 subsection 1 is arrest without warrant. Because some subsection 2 is some other thing different. That is the reason I am insisting on subsection 1. Under subsection 1 again there are clauses. Clause A is any person committing a cognizable offence in the presence of the police officer. Clause B is against whom a reasonable complaint has been made or credible information has been received or reasonable suspicion exists that he has committed a cognizable offence punishable with imprisonment for a term which may be less than 7 years or which may extend to 7 years, whether with or without fine, if the following conditions are satisfied. So when a police officer, against whom a credible information or a complaint has been made, both they have included a complaint case or information given to the police officer and a person, there is an allegation against a person that he has committed a cognizable offence punishable below 7 years or above 7 years, whatever it may be, and the police officer is having reason to believe that the police officer has reason to believe on the basis of such complaint or information that arrest is necessary to prevent such person from committing any further offence or for proper investigation or to prevent such person from causing disappearance of evidence or tampering with evidence or to prevent that person from making any inducement, threat or promise. See, all these points are there. So when a complaint has been made or credible information has been received by the police officer that a person has committed an offence punishable with imprisonment and it is necessary to arrest that person. Why is it necessary to arrest that person? Because that person may commit further offences or he may threaten the witnesses or he may tamper the evidence or he will not be available. His presence is necessary for proper investigation. And last one is, if that person, unless and until he has been arrested, his presence cannot be ensured in the court. Under such circumstances, a police officer can arrest without warrant. So, under clause B, imprisonment. First one, clause A, I told you C. Under clause B, you can write as I, imprisonment. And imprisonment is below 7 years or above 7 years, whatever it may be. And subject to certain conditions, his presence is required in the court for proper investigation. His presence is required before the police officer for proper investigation, or his presence cannot be ensured unless he has been arrested, or he will tamper the evidence, or he will induce the witnesses, or he will threaten the witnesses. In all such cases, a police officer can arrest without warrant. This is all under clause B, and under clause B, there are sub-clauses also. And next, BA. And if the police officer is not arresting that particular person, here they have given that provided that the police officer, if he is not arresting that particular person, he has to record reasons for not arresting that particular person. BA. Against whom a credible information has been received that he has committed a cognizable offence punishable with imprisonment for a term which may extend to more than 7 years, whether with or without pen or with death sentence. And the police officer has reason to believe on the basis of that information that such person has committed that offence. So in simple words, there is credible information that a person has committed an offence, And if proved, he will be punished either with punishment imprisonment above 7 years or with death sentence. In such cases also, the police officer can arrest without warrant. So for B, clauses B and BA, you can write I in brackets. So CI. So CI. Next, clause C. Who has been a proclaimed offender? Proclaimed offender. Proclaimed offender means he is absconding and there is a proclamation against that particular person. పారిపోయాడు, ప్రొక్లైమ్డ్ అఫెండర్ పారిపోయాడు, ప్రొక్లమేషన్ ఇచ్చారు. ప్రొక్లమేషన్ అంటే ప్రకటన ఇచ్చారు, ఈజ్ ఎ వాంటెడ్ పర్సన్ అని చెప్పేసి. సో అండర్లైన్ ప్రొక్లైమ్డ్ అఫెండర్ అండ్ యూ రైట్ పి ఇన్ బ్రాకెట్. నెక్స్ట్ క్లాజ్ డి. Who in whose possession anything is found which is suspected to be a stolen property. Underline stolen property and in bracket you can write S. Okay. So, stolen property under clause D. Clause E is obstructing a police officer. So, when the police officer is discharging his duty and any person obstructs him, then the police officer can arrest him without warrant. Obstructing a police officer, underline obstructing police officer and you write O in bracket. And next, if a person, there is a reasonable suspicion that that person is a deserter from armed forces. So underline deserter, D, and you write in bracket D. And clause G is, again a person against whom a reasonable complaint has been made or credible information has been received. So, for which he is under any law relating to extradition or otherwise liable to be apprehended or detained in custody in India. Means underline extradition first and write in bracket E. So a person has committed an offence somewhere outside India and he has to be extradited or he can be detained in India. All of you know what is extradition. Extradition is of a fugitive offender. Fugitive offender means running away, escaping offender. So if any person commits an offence outside India and if he is found in India and he has to be extradited and there is a reasonable suspicion that he has committed the offence, then also a police officer can arrest him without warrant. So underline extradition under clause D and you write in bracket E. And next under clause H, who being a released convict commits a breach of any rule made under subsection 5 of section 356. Released convict means he has been convicted of an offence and he has been released, and at the time of release certain conditions has been imposed, means he has to inform his change of address and all. So if any such conditions has been imposed on him and he violates that particular condition, then police officer can arrest him without a warrant. Underline released convict and write in bracket R. And lastly, clause I, for whose arrest any requisition has been made from another police officer. Okay, so here you know that a police officer in one jurisdiction, he can make a request to a police officer in another jurisdiction. Suppose an offender moves away from one jurisdiction to another jurisdiction, either the police officer who is investigating that particular case, he can directly go there and take that person into custody, and or he can make a request to that particular police officer having jurisdiction. So requisition made by another police officer. Underline requisition and you write in bracket R. So now right from the beginning, from clause A, CIPSODERR, CIPSODER. If you remember this, it is easy to remember section 41 subsection 1, in which cases a police officer can arrest without warrant. So C is for cognizable offense, I is for imprisonment below for 7 years, above 7 years including death, P is for proclaimed offender, S is for any person in possession of stolen property, and O is for obstructing a police officer, D is deserter of armed forces, E is extradition, R is released convict, and one more R is requisition. So, if you remember this, then you can easily remember section 41 subsection 1, when a police officer can arrest a person without warrant.
Stolen property means money.
Stolen property, theft. Take for example theft.
When easily recognized letter, madam. Letter.